Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. Today's reading is all about how do your friends view you? How do they see you? So we're going to start off looking at generally how you appear to your friendship circle, and then we'll have a bit of a look at whether there's a great deal of uniformity around that. Does everybody see you sort of the same, or are there different aspects that come up for different types of friendships or social circle environments and so forth? And then from there we're going to hone in on 3 key friendships, and we're going to identify who they are as best we can with a range of oracles that are under these particular chakra placement stones. And then once we've sort of worked out who these 3 people are, then we're going to look at how they view you, how they feel about you, and Spirit's advice about those relationships. Because anything could come out of this. This could be, it could uncover some secret admirers you have. It could uncover people who are competitive with you or competitive about you. We could find a frenemy or 2 potentially. We could find people who are your cheerleaders, your great support and so forth, people who are destined to be with you on some sort of soul contract. Anything might come out of this. And because it's a general and collective reading, it may well be that when we're looking at the 3 people, 2 of them really you can recognise who they are, and the 3rd may not be the case. So that's fine. Take from this what works for you in general. It could even be that there's a couple of friends in this that are coming into your life that you haven't met yet. So this will give you a signpost to them coming and what the nature of the relationship is likely to be. This probably more than any reading, if you feel drawn to more than one reading, it might be very much a sense of going to that, because it could be that the friends, there are friends, that energies across these that are really Spirit's guiding you to hear about, more than 3 people, or it might be that 2 are in one reading and another is in another one. That's possible. So you do you work out what is drawing you. As I say, what these cards under here are the 3 friends we're going to look at. So think of it in that term, to try and be drawn to the right pile to get the right sort of energies around your friends. To also help with that, I've got the chakra placement stone. So I've got the heart chakra on pile 1, the throat chakra on pile 2, and the 3rd eye chakra on pile 3. So if you're drawn to particular chakra energy, or you feel that really resonates to your sorts of friendships and so forth, by all means use that to choose 1 or more piles, or whatever way that you normally do this. Pause the video if you need to. When you know what pile or piles you want to go to, the timestamps will be in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1. So we've got the cards for the friends in particular we're going to look at over here, which we'll get to after this first part of the reading. But these tarot cards are meant to give a sense, firstly, of how you seem, how your friends view you, what they see in you at the moment. And then, as I say, we'll have a look at what degree of diversity or difference there might be in the view of you, what other sort of nuances there may be in a second row of tarot. So your friends see you as very passionate and someone who is a person of great action, great creativity, and great love. You are, in fact, someone I think that they feel loves deeply, but I think that many see you at the moment as someone who might have been hurt in a relationship, or who hasn't yet found the right relationship, possibly because you're a bit shy and retiring. I think that they think that you are vibrant and charismatic and as attractive as hell, but they're not sure why it is. But I think they feel that you kind of step away from relationships, or you're shy about relationships. You need someone to come forward for you, possibly because some of you may be getting over a heartbreak or something that was difficult or painful. You're still in the process of letting that go. So I think your closer friends definitely see you as someone who has been through a bit and is a bit withdrawn at the moment, but understandably. But more generally, there may be a sense where they know of some other pain that you've gone through, and that you are someone who has your boundaries around you because of that, pile 1. You're not necessarily the person who would have started most of these friendships. It's more like people come to you rather than the other way around. They sense this energy. Like once they get to know you, you're so much fun. Like you are really, really, you go from being the shy person at the party to the person who's right in the centre of it all. But you have to be comfortable with the people that you're with. You have to be with your people, so to speak, for them to really see that. They do think you're very courageous for all of that. It's really just a kind of, in fact, there's a little bit of a dichotomy that your friends see in you, which is between the person who is a little bit shy, a little bit retiring, and the person who is just get out and go after things. It may turn up in different sides of your life. It may be that I feel like if the shy stuff is probably more around love, relationships and so forth. I think you underestimate yourself. I think your friends think you underestimate yourself and how lovable you are. And they think they see you as someone who has maybe not felt able to commit to a relationship yet because you're processing something, maybe even something from family or friendships in the past. But there's something that they know or they see or they presume about you. It's possible that that's not the case, that you're just someone who's very discerning and you do like to think before you act, because you know once you commit to something in terms of your passions and your ambitions, you're going to be going for it full on. And so it may depend on how long some of these people have known you and what they know of your past. But it does look to me like for many of you, they're aware of, their friends are aware of a relationship that's broken up or a pain from the past that you're still processing. I think they also see you as someone who helps them do that, to be honest, as well. You're a kind of calm, centered, very zen-like feeling over here when they have breakups and when they have emotional sorts of turmoil. They'll come to you, I think, because I think they see you as someone who understands and can transmute that power and give them back a sense of themselves. It's just that ironic thing that I suspect they recognise that in you because they've seen you've come through that in some way and you have reached that sort of sense of resolution, or you're very close to doing it. You know how to transmute pain. So I think you're probably a little bit of the agony aunt for your friends. I think you're part of the kind of inbuilt therapist within the friendship circle, and someone I think who they see as very spiritually centered. But as I say, underneath fun, like a lot of fun. But I think that's something your friends, your close friends see. Most of the other people in your broader social circle probably don't see that. They see you as a little bit enigmatic, a little bit aloof, whereas your friends see the fiery side of you and the action-oriented side of you. But I think they think the world of you. I think they feel a bit protective of you if you've been through something, or they see you as their protection. It's a bit of both. I think some of them, like I am getting that there's at least maybe one close friend around you. If you are someone who's broken up with someone but you haven't fully processed it, they really just want you to process it and move it away. They're really empathizing, and they're really wanting you to kind of detach from that and reach that sense of sort of sublime acceptance so that you can be passionate about something else. In actual fact, there's also a sense potentially around this that there's someone, and it'll be interesting to see if it comes up in the three that we're going to look at, who might have a crush on you themselves, and they might want you to kind of get over something else so that you see them. So it'll be interesting to see. Let's see whether or not there's any sort of like differences around your social circle and nuances around this that add some light and shade to it, or whether this is fairly constant, that most people see you in that sort of way. Okay, this is probably adding nuance to what we've seen rather than anything particularly different. They do see you as being very spiritual, definitely. So that's picking up that Zen feeling there and the capacity to transmute pain that's there with the Eight of Cups. They see you as someone who has a philosophic approach to that and who can move on when you need to move on, and someone who kind of just knows things. Like you're definitely, as I say, someone that people go to for answers or to sort through their own problems and so forth. And that might be a little bit exhausting sometimes. The funny thing is that I think that some of your friends look at this and they go, you know, she or he is always helping other people, always sorting out their problems. Must be exhausted, poor thing, but probably if it came to it, they'd come to you as well too. That's the sort of irony about it. I think there's a kind of protective energy around it, and so forth. But there's also, if it came to it, if push came to shove, they'd look to you for that sort of support as well, which is sort of interesting. They see you as incredibly fair, incredibly clever in the way that you look at things. You can like bring balance to things and calm to things, and someone who you're more on the introvert than the extrovert side of things, so there is that kind of extrovert energy, probably a little bit close, you know, between the two. But I think most see you as someone who needs time out. They know they know they feel a little bit guilty sometimes, I have to say, because they do rely on you. So they do understand and accept your boundaries, and they know that it's only fair to allow you time out as well too. So that's good. That feels very good. I also think that there is someone around you, whether it'll come up in these three, I'm not sure. It maybe will if that's going to be really important to you, and you may reciprocate. Maybe it won't if it's just a crush that maybe you're aware of, or you'll never be aware of, but was there. But I do think there's at least one that sees you as a potential sort of life partner, very sort of, passionately interested in you, really wants you to sort of see that and make a decision to move towards them and transform the way the relationship is. Feels probably a kind of psychic kind of connection with you and so forth. But whether or not that's someone that you feel that way about, I'm not sure. They certainly have a sense of pain that you've been through before. They kind of want to protect you and look after you. And I don't know that you necessarily need to be protected or looked after, but that's lovely if it is a reciprocated energy. That's a really nice energy to have. But there's something a little bit spiritual about that. So there's at least one who sort of sees you as a bit of a potential soul twin or something like that in your friendship circle, even if you haven't realized that. But overall, they see you as someone who's either been through a lot and is working through it and is going to sort of emerge passionate and so forth in a very fair and balanced way, or you're someone who helps others to do that. I think it's a bit of both. I think that most of you probably have been through some heartbreak in the not too distant past, and your friends really want to see you sort of getting back up and going out into the world and dating again and all of that sort of thing. But it's because you've helped them as well. Okay, so let's have a look at the three people. So for each of them, there's sort of like various aspects that we're going to look at. And sorry for that delay. I actually just realised that I needed to pull a couple of other cards intuitively to make sure that I had enough for each person, for each descriptor. So we're just going to lay these out one at a time to get different energies around the three people, and then we'll talk about it. So person 1, person 2, person 3. Actually, I just remembered that I thought I was going to actually put numbers there, so I'll do something in a second along those lines too. Person 1, 2, and 3. Person 1, 2, 3. And person 1, 2, and 3. I'm just trying to work out the way to make sure that you can see all of these, because there's quite a bit of information here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down, just to remind people, so there's going to be a pink heart here for person 1, there's going to be a green jade for person 2, and there's going to be a rose quartz for person 3, just for the, I'm sure that that's showing up, to remind you on who is each, because somebody told me in the comments it was a little bit hard to keep up with that sometimes. So thinking of these as potential ways of understanding which is which. So the first person, let's have a look at the first person. So they may be Aquarius or have Aquarius strongly in their chart. They may just have Aquarian sort of personality aspects, and they tend to be free-spirited, unconventional, eccentric, or quirky. This person, in fact, you'll probably be able to know them very clearly because they are quite quirky, they are quite different and spiritual, I think, because they're coming up as a gypsy soul, but they're also grounded with Virgo. So it's likely to be a combination of Virgo energy, which is very detail-oriented, very practical, very health-oriented, probably really loves good food and all of that sort of thing, loves health, all of those sorts of issues, but they're very free-spirited. This is a friend who you really, I think that you feel like you can rely on them, and I think you can, because they are faithful to their friends, and they maybe have a connection to children. They may have children, or they may work with children in some way, or it may be even somebody who in the longer term, if it was to become more than a friendship, you may in fact start a family with. So, but there's something around children with them, and they are very faithful, but they're very free-spirited. And we have the Boundless card here from the Primrose and Prose Oracle. So that's the sort of different energy between this person. This friend is both faithful and grounded and wants long-term things. So if it's not with you, and I'm not necessarily feeling this is the one that might have a crush on you, I actually feel this is just a friend. I think you'll know who they are because they do ultimately want a family. They want to settle down. They're very health conscious and so forth. But it has to be done in a way that's boundless, a way that, you know, allows their gypsy soul to feel free and to be unconventional in some way. And certainly in the way that they look at you, they would be frustrated if they felt that you were too trapped in an old relationship. They would want you to be as free and really looking for what is right for you. So there's a friend there who is a weird combination of freedom, eccentricity, and that sort of energy with a grounded, longer term aim in what they want in life. I feel like they're very materially sensible. They would tend to stick at jobs, they would tend to stick at friendships, they would tend to stick at love, all of those sorts of things. But if something stopped them from being different, then that they would not stick at that. They have to balance those two things. So that's friend number one. Friend number two over here, okay. This is where we have the person who's maybe got a crush on you, because we've got the crush energy here, or you've got a crush on them. It's possible, but I feel like it's them on you, to be frank, because they look like they feel a bit numb. It looks to me like it's not necessarily requited, or they don't know if it's going to be. They have a dark complexion potentially, and they really love, you know, good food, good wine, guilty pleasures in general. But they're rebellious, and there is some caution around them. You need to have some caution around them and so forth. We've got tranquilized here. They could be very hypnotic, to be honest. So if it is you having a crush on them, so for person two, it may be that you need to be aware of whether they kind of hypnotize you a bit. They are sort of rebellious and all of that sort of thing, and they could be respectable. I don't actually think they're a bad person, but there could be some caution. The other side of the caution could be if they have a crush on you and you don't reciprocate, and we'll get more of a sense when we look at how they're viewing you particularly to get a sense about whether that's the case, then they may feel that the way that you might sort of interact with them might feel always just a little bit off, like a little bit like you can't quite get to them because they're hiding what they feel about you. And it's kind of all living on this very spiritual sort of level. It's not necessarily grounded. So if it's not reciprocated, you need to be aware of that. Person number three may have been born in the year of the snake, if any of those dates make sort of like connect with you, or could have been in the more recent years in the snake that's when you met, or there's some sort of connection in some way. It could also be the energy of the snake in terms of change and so forth. They're very, very smart. There's an acumen around them. They really know their stuff. If there was one person in your friendship circle who you would be maybe likely to go to for advice as opposed to the other way around, I think it's this person. They're very spiritual, probably in their 20s. If they're older than that, they appear very youthful. The 20s to me, if it's not literally the age that they are, to me the 20s is when we find out who we are. So I think that whereas in the 30s we tend to kind of ground that, and by the 40s and the 50s we're really starting to establish our legacy. So I feel that if they're not in their 20s, because it'll depend very much on who you are and who your friendships are and how old you are, but if they're not in their 20s, then they're going through some sort of spiritual discovery of who they are. They're trying some things out, and I think that snake shedding its skin concept is there as well too. They're very performative, and they might have been hurt, so there's a wounded. Some of their spiritual new lease on life sort of energy could come from having been hurt before. I don't feel like it's from you. I think it's more likely to be one of these friends who comes to you to help them with their pain. They're very performative. They're someone who's larger than life to some degree and very, very clever. So hopefully that gives you a sense. So one person who's going to go for the long haul, always going to be a faithful friend, always going to be there for you, but is also freedom loving, and they're balancing that side of things. One person who I think has a crush on you, or possibly you have on them, as I say, we'll see what the feelings are coming from them and how they view you, but they are someone to be a little bit cautious of, either in not hurting them or in not being kind of almost hypnotized by them. I don't think they're a bad person, but my sense is this is probably not the right person for you. In whichever way it is, they should be a friend. But anyway, we'll see what else comes out. And this is a friend who's finding themselves in some way spiritually and in other levels, maybe after some pain, very, very smart, helps transform and helps you transform as well. So let's have a look at how they feel about you. So we're firstly going to pull out an archetype card for you for each of these, just to see how they kind of see you. So for friend number one, the freedom-loving but nevertheless grounded individual, they see you as an introvert. Okay, so they're picking up that sort of energy that we saw before with the Four of Swords. There's someone who sees you as being very quiet and sort of separated out when necessary and needing time out. I suspect, in actual fact, they're a bit like that, to be honest. I think that they see in you what is in them. And I think this is the balance that they're always sort of finding between the freedom and so they're very earth and air. And I think they really connect with you, particularly at that kind of air level, the sort of mental energy and so forth. I think they're probably introverted as well. Person number two, friend number two, sees you as a player. Okay, they've definitely got a crush on you. They've definitely got, this is not saying you are a player, but they are just so besotted, I'd say, and they're a bit frustrated about it all, but it's their own sort of projections on you, I think, at the moment. And person number three sees you as, okay, Aries. So Aries to me is sort of someone who's ambitious, someone who really can make it in the world, someone who should be a natural leader. I think this person looks up to you. The interesting thing is I think you look up to them. I think it's kind of a meeting of the minds. It's a meeting of ability. It's probably the most similar person to you. It may be your best friend out of the three. But they see you as someone who should have lots of ambition, really move forward, really make something of yourself. That's what they want to see out of you. And if they have to perform a bit to get you to see that, to entertain you in some way to bring that out, they'll do that. So let's also ask the feelings that they have around you. So person number one. Okay, they sometimes feel excluded. So maybe it's this introversion, maybe this balance that they have between the material, the faithful. They are very faithful as a friend, and their freedom. Sometimes they feel that you're a bit separate from them, or they feel that their separateness and their freedom may exclude them. They do need to belong. This is the thing. They need to be free, but they need to belong. So I think sometimes your introversion and your kind of capacity to step back makes them feel a bit excluded. And they're a really good friend. So bear that in mind. Bear in mind that they're underneath this freedom-loving person is also someone who is a very faithful friend. Okay, let's get the feelings from the person who I think has a probably unrequited crush on you. Excited, yeah. They get very excited when they see you. I mean, they may think you're a player because they're projecting their own wants on you, but they get excited as well. I mean, you just really, really inspire them, and they're really, really drawn to you. But I do think you need to be a little bit careful. I think it's more careful not to hurt their feelings than anything. And then what's the feeling that this sort of like kind of potential best friend, I think, down here has? Surprised. Okay, so I think you're going to surprise them a bit. I think that you're going to really start to step into this. I think that they've been a bit worried because of past hurts or whatever, that you've sort of been suppressing your fire, but I think that fire is about to come out, and I think they're going to be delighted about that. So let's also ask the Heart Code Oracles the other sort of energy around you that these three people perceive around you. Okay, this says judgment. Okay, so I think this is telling me that they may feel, and I don't think this is true, so it's just worth you knowing, but I think that they may feel that you aren't necessarily seeing the sort of loyal and faithful side of them. That what I'm getting is that they're the sort of person who, unfortunately, for all that they're faithful and loyal and grounded and really want a friendship, they're not necessarily easy to pin down. They're sort of someone who, you know, you might text and you might not hear from for a few days or whatever. And it's not that they're not, you know, committed to the friendship. It's just that freedom, eccentricity, the gypsy soul. And I think that they may feel that you don't necessarily see both sides of them. You're only seeing one side. So it's just worth being aware of that they will always be a great friend. They will always be there, and they'll always take care of the responsibilities that they have. That freedom is only one part of them. Okay, let's have a look at person 2, the one with the crush. Self-focused. Okay. Yeah, look, there's a lot of projection from this person, pile 1. They really are incredibly attracted to you. They're incredibly excited about you. They've got a huge crush, whether you're aware of it or not. But they don't understand. I don't think it's a reciprocated thing. And I think for them, they feel that's just because you're a bit of a player and you're self-focused and you'll eventually come around. So I just think you need to be cautious and careful about what the messaging is that you give to them. And then down here for this sort of best friend, sort of meeting of the minds type energy. Assumption. Okay, so one of the things about them, which I think they project on you, to be frank, is that they make assumptions about people, and they may think that you do the same. So part of this energy, right at the beginning, the energy of helping other people through relationships or whatever, I think that they may feel you make assumptions about people and things, or maybe that you take the assumption in a sense of other people's stuff when you don't need to do it, and you should be focusing on you and your ambitions and so forth. So I think that's the case. I also think that they think that you have an incredible acuity in some ways for helping people emotionally and so forth, but that you maybe don't necessarily always see some of what's coming towards you. So I think they will know this person's got a crush, and I don't think you do. And I think they will know this person is a very loyal friend, but they think maybe you don't fully see it. So I think that this person wants you to be everything you can possibly be, but feels maybe you're a little bit too self-effacing up here, ironically, given this person with their crush thinks you're self-focused, and maybe too quick to think someone isn't as connected to you as they actually are. But this does feel like a friendship energy. This feels like a crush. So I think this person knows you very well, pile 1, really well, and really thinks the world of you, but wants you to be a bit clearer about some of the people around you. So last but not least, I want to pull out a couple of cards for final advice around these relationships and your relationships in general. So the first one's just going to be an affirmation for dealing with each of these, and then we're going to do a kind of energy card for each to close out the reading. Okay, so in dealing with this friend, it says, don't squeeze a dream too tightly, it must breathe to live. Okay, so maybe there's something in this one where you want to work with them on something, or you want to collaborate on something, or you have a vision together, but you don't feel like they're always there, and you're not sort of seeing that sort of gypsy nature and so forth. You are seeing that, and you're not feeling that you can, that you can get the commitment you need, which is making them feel excluded, and that you're sort of like separating from them, and you feeling like, I'd love to do this, but I just don't know, are they going to be there when I need them? And so don't squeeze too tightly on this person. Let them breathe, let them live, because they will be there for you. The judgment doesn't have to be black and white. There is a nuance to this relationship. Over here, failure isn't fatal and success isn't final, keep going. I think that's just to have kindness around this person. I don't think that you feel the same way. So it's just a matter of like kindly and calmly, like just letting it sort of move through so the relationship can move through. And if the friendship fails because of that, that's not, it doesn't, that had its time, and let it go. And then lastly, down here, if you really want to succeed, start before you're ready. I feel like that's them talking to you, like just let's get on with it. Let's get on with it. Because they, some degree, them seeing you succeed helps them deal with some wounds around success themselves. So last but not least, as I said, we're going to close out with a energy around each of these friendships. And then one in the centre, I think, for your friendships overall. So firstly, the three we've looked at. Okay. So over here, the void, the dark moon. This is, I mean, I actually think there's a lot of potential in this. I think there's something that you'll potentially do together in the world. And I think the void there is not about a problem in the relationship. I think it's about really going within and understanding the nuances and so forth between you and what you can do together, because there's something waiting to be born out of that. That may in fact be the children thing. It may not literally be a child. It might be something that you're meant to birth together as a creative project or a new idea or something. So there's something in there. It's full of possibility and could be relatively new. It could be a relatively new friendship in some way. That might be why you haven't like worked out the nuances yet of their personality, because it seems so sort of two-sided sometimes. Not duplicitous, but like these two almost warring sort of energies within the person. Over here we have release. Yeah, I think you have to kind of somehow release the energy around this, whether the friendship goes or not. I do think you need to release that, because there's a lot of pent-up, infatuation there around you. And then acceptance down here. It may be like, this might be one of those kind of best friends or really close friends where you're always challenging each other, and that's good. I think it's ultimately good that happens, but there is the need for acceptance of that's what it's about. It's really coming from a really good place. If they challenge you, and equally if you challenge them back, it's coming from a really good place. So last but not least, let's get an energy just around your friendship circle in general. Attraction. So you attract a lot of people to you. You probably have at various stages in your life quite a large social circle, which is a little bit counterintuitive because I think you are a bit introverted, but I think you do attract a lot of people to you, and you do attract different types of attraction as well too. There's something very inspiring about you, that between that kind of gentleness that was there with the Four of Swords, and then also the Knight of Wands, that sort of passion and so forth, you draw a lot of people to you. I don't think you find it hard to make friends, even though you're introverted. It's sort of a weird energy, but you draw people to you, you fascinate people. And that's fine. That's all good, but it is important to make sure that you understand the nuances of those things. It's like you're so good at it in some ways when people come to you with problems, but like looking at it yourself, looking at your friendships or whatever, I think you kind of err on the side of, normally speaking, you err on the side of, kind of wanting to always see the best in people. But every once in a while you do get a bit judgy, I think, about things that you don't understand. It's about what you don't understand. And sometimes you don't understand yourself how attractive you are to others or what you could do in the world. And that's what I think this friend wants you to see. So I hope that is helpful. I hope those people were recognisable for you, and I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you have any comments, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2. So we will get to the various characteristics of the three friends that we're going to particularly look at a little bit later in the reading. We're going to start off with tarot around how your friends in general see you, and then we'll look at nuancing that a little bit with the second row of tarot around what might be different around different sorts of friendships. So firstly, your friends see you as incredibly emotionally supportive and nourishing, and someone probably who either is in a very happy family or who very values happy families, and probably the heart above all. For you, the heart is everything. The caring and nurturing of others is everything, and passion. So very passionate sort of person as well. Very well established. So it doesn't really matter what age you are or what you're doing. If you are not at a point in your career, in your life, where you've sort of become sort of like a ruler of something that you're doing, you know, sort of really, really self-actualized, they see you as someone who's going to do that, who is naturally abundant, who's incredibly talented and probably incredibly psychic, like really connected, really knows things. It's like your friends think you know things that you shouldn't almost know, like you can read their minds, or you have a sense of the universe and what's coming, you know, and that's part of what makes you so abundant and so creative and so passionate, is that like you're really connected to the zeitgeist in some way. They see you as kind of prophetic, I think, but so kind, very kind, and very much, I think at least one of your friends sees you as a bit more than a friend, potentially, sees you as the answer to their prayers for a long-term relationship. Or it could be that you are already in a long-term relationship that's very happy, and they see that, and that one of those people, the person that you're with, is also a really good friend, because there's definitely that energy around it as well. If you have children, or you're wanting to have children, they see you as a brilliant parent, whatever gender you are. They see you as someone who would be incredibly nurturing and incredibly inspiring to a family, to children, to the next generations. If you're not looking to do that in your life at the moment, then there's energies that you bring like that is almost like being a nurturer and a parent to your friends and to others around, with this great knowing about the world that you have. You're very fun to be around, like very fun to be around. They think they really enjoy your energy, but it's also at the end of the day, if they needed to have someone to just go and feel nourished and warmed by you. I think you're very extroverted. And what I mean by extroverted is not, extrovert and introvert is not necessarily shy and gregarious. Extroverts get energy from other people. Introverts get energy from themselves. So I think you have this extroverted sense. You really love to be around people. You really love people. You enjoy them. You enjoy your friends. You enjoy social activities. You enjoy also, you know, an evening in with the family. Like there's very people focused. They see you as very people focused and very positive, but very knowing, very wise as well. So let's see what else there is. You know, if there's any nuances or differences within your friendship circle that clarifies any of this further. Okay, so this is telling me that most of you, they see the potential of you really actualizing something. Possibly you haven't yet done it. With the Queen of Pentacles reversed and the World reversed, you look like someone who is hard at work at the moment on material things, on establishing a longer term structure of your life in some way. And you haven't yet. I think most people who came here were not in the long-term relationship yet. If you are, then it's saying that the two of you together have yet to complete something, and maybe even that is a family or something like that. But I think for most people here, you're not necessarily in the long-term relationship yet. That's part of what you want to establish. And you haven't yet done that. They don't see you having yet done that. Though it may be that some of them think there is a potential around you, or you're in a relationship that has that potential. It hasn't yet flowered. Could be this person over here if you are in a relationship with one of your friends. If it's somebody who likes you, they may think they could be that and they're waiting for you to see it. That's a possibility as well. They definitely see you as someone who just gets rid of negative energy, just doesn't hold on to it. You know, you won't sit and wallow. It's just not your nature. And I think they really very much admire that. And you can make the decisions that are necessary. They're very practical decisions to do stuff. But I think that they feel you put the brakes on yourself sometimes. Like I get the feeling it's at least one friend who, if you aren't in a long-term relationship at the moment, this is only going to apply for someone who isn't in a long-term relationship, who feels that possibly you're putting the brakes on what would be a perfect long-term relationship, i.e. them. So it'll be interesting to see if something like that comes up in the three people that we're going to look at. If it doesn't, I still think there's someone like that around, but maybe you're aware of them and you don't need to be told about that. Or things are going in that direction and it's on course, so Spirit doesn't want to focus as much on that. But I do think that some feel that you are putting the brakes on yourself on something in your life at the moment, and they really see you as someone who should be abundant and achieving things and so forth. Though I'm getting that some of them think there could very well be a good reason, like you're sort of someone who I think people later on, you say something and they think, oh yeah, whatever, and then later on it turns out to be right. And so there might be that sort of sense that they're a bit frustrated, they want you to be moving forward with something, but there's a side of them that also knows if you aren't, there'll be a good reason not to, that you're very, very dialed in, so to speak. So let's have a look at the 3 people. So I'm just going to put down some cards that were under the Chakra Placement Stones to give a sense about each person. So just to try and highlight it, I meant to actually do numbers for this, but I forgot to prepare it. So the first person's going to be Jade, the second person's going to be Red Jasper, and the third person down here is going to be the pink, the rose quartz. Just so that I can make sure I refer to it so that you don't get confused if I'm talking about a number of them. So for the Jade person, we have Navy. For the Red Jasper, we have Earth. And for Rose Quartz, we have Asia. And then we have Rebirth. Habitat. Preserve. Then this person we have non-committal, travel and adventure. This person has the performing arts, beauty and fashion. This person nurturer and spontaneous. And then this person, oh okay, saboteur. Vampire. All right, okay. That one will be interesting. This one, famous. Oh, that's interesting. They may well be, if not now, they may be going to be Sagittarius. And this person down here, Earth. And hot nerd. Okay. All right. So, looking up at this first person. So, this first person that Spirit wants to talk about appears to be very devoted, adaptable, have a sense of duty and so forth. They may wear a lot of navy. They're someone that could work in the navy or some form of military area potentially. But there is definitely a sense of authority and so forth around them. And they're going through some sort of major change in their life with rebirth. So you're probably aware of that. There's some sort of rebirth or change around them. And because of that, they're non-committal about relationships. They want to have a bit of adventure. Like the Navy, actually, maybe they want to literally travel and be out and doing things. But there's someone to be a little bit cautious of, Spirit is saying, with the vampire and the saboteur. That might be that they sabotage themselves. So if you have a friend who you feel, could be going through a major rebirth and so forth, that would actually work better for them in relationships. If they're chronically having relationships that don't work out and they can't commit to, then they may self-sabotage and they may be very needy. Like there's a sense of need around them. But I get the sense for many, this may be someone who sabotages you, not necessarily deliberately, but they drain a lot of your energy with the vampiric energy there. I think they want you to go on adventures with them. They want you to do that. They see you as somehow your energy helps them have the rebirth, but they're not able to commit to themselves. That's why they want to sort of travel around. That's why there's this sabotaging energy. So I think this is a friend who possibly wants more from you. Not necessarily romantic, but it is possible. But wants more from you, wants you as a companion, wants you as a validation, I think. Almost an enabler of energies that they have that aren't good. And they don't really understand your sense of trust in the concept of long-term relationships and family and so forth. They really kind of want to break you free of that. But it's their own self-sabotaging sort of energy that potentially could sabotage what you're trying to do as well too. So I think Spirit is just sort of saying they need to have their own rebirth. Don't become the food or the nourishment for that. Over here, we have the earth, so they could be an earth sign astrologically. They could have very earthy sort of physical characteristics, hazel or brown eyes, brown or golden skin, thick hair, full lips. But there is a sense of earth and grounding around them. They are very much, they're almost the polar opposite. Like this one wants to go and travel the world. This one likes to be at home. And to some degree, this one is much more like you, I think. I think you are more someone who wants to have those sort of firm foundations. The interesting thing though is I think this one might be quite jealous of this one, because this one wants to have this life of adventure and excitement and so forth. This one actually is having that, or will be if you're quite young. They have the fiery energy with Sagittarius, so they're a combination of earth and fire. They're likely to be famous, maybe work in fashion or the beauty industry or something like that, something that requires that, or the performing arts. So it's interesting, because this person would love to be a star and travel the world. This person is probably going to be a star but would love to stay at home. so they're kind of, you almost have opposites here. This one I feel is actually really good energy for you, because I think they inspire you, but they also have the grounding that you need. But I don't know that, you know, like I think that they're someone who will come in and out of your life, because they are going to be off sort of doing, they're going to have that kind of very peripatetic life that people have when they're sort of performing artists or they're famous, you know, they're sort of out there and so forth. If you don't know this person yet, they're coming into your life to sort of maybe show you that you can have both. It might be that that's one of the things you have to sort out, but they feel like they're a good energy for you, at least so far. We'll see what else comes up. And then the third friend may have a connection to Asia in some way. They could come from Asia, any of those countries. They may travel from there. You might meet them there on a holiday. You might be in Asia, so it may be your home, you know, whatever that might be. But there's a connection to Asia. Again, there's an earthy energy. In fact, I think you are more comfortable with earthy sort of people who are grounded and so forth, people who want to move to the abundant, the longer term. So they're like this person on that level. But they're more about preserving things, and they're a little bit more conventional, though interesting enough, coming up as a hot nerd. They're probably good at IT or something like that. You probably find them quite attractive. You might be drawn to them. It'll be interesting to see how they're feeling about you. But they're certainly, they're far more attractive than they appear. Like this person's sort of kind of potentially famous and glamorous. This person is just as attractive, but in a different way. They're kind of, you know, the age of the geek, you know, the geeks rule the world sort of energy around them. And they are quite spontaneous, but they're also very nurturing. They're like, that's a lovely, I really like that energy. I feel like that's a really good friend who's always going to be there for you and will problem solve for you, but will also make you be spontaneous when you need to be spontaneous. And they'll do it at really surprising times, because for the most part, you're probably going to think that they're quite, you know, somebody who sits in front of a keyboard or whatever, but there is more to them than that. So you have an interesting group of friends, I have to say. Let's have a bit of a sense about how they view you. So firstly, we're going to use the Archetype Oracle again for each of them, just to sort of see how they view you. So one card for each. So what does the Jade person who's got the issues, how do they see you? Okay, Crone. Now that does not mean that they think that you're old. The Crone energy is not about age, it's about wisdom. So that's picking up that High Priestess. They do think that you can solve something for them. It's almost like they feel that they're a bit alien, or they, you know, have a kind of vampiric personality or soul or something. They feel like there's something psychic rather than psychological, and spiritual around what they're doing, and they feel like you have the wisdom. That's why they want you with them. They could see you as the perfect midwife, in a way, no gender implied, to their rebirth, because they definitely have a feeling about you know, some sort of spiritual lineage or something. I'm not sure that it's accurate. Maybe it is, but yeah, and they need to go on that adventure, and they want that wisdom with them. They see that in you, but don't let them draw too much out of you. I'm getting the Jasper person over here, the famous person who is nevertheless grounded. How do they see you? Okay, they see you as a visionary. You come across like that High Priestess, and it was very important to how people see you. They see you as a visionary. I actually think that they might, in fact, use you as a bit of a muse, to be honest. I think that there's something about, and it's the balance of your sort of, you know, emotional depth and wisdom with that sort of sense of security and nurturing or whatever. They see you as someone really out of the box. They really love that. But yeah, you're like a muse, or you're like someone Like you could literally be someone who does this sort of thing, and you might be like a tarot reader to the stars, quite literally, and one is a really good friend. One becomes a really good friend. They see you as incredibly visionary. And then this person down here who feels like the real, I mean, the lovely energy, I get such a nice energy off this. How do they see you? Okay. They see you. This is the Empress. This is the energy around also the Ten of Cups. They see you as very home-oriented, family-oriented, protective, caring, emotionally warm and rich. They might have a bit of crush on you. You might have a bit of a crush on them. They may be, if you're not in a long-term relationship, this might be the one, I have to say. But you'll know better when you're sort of hearing about this, if you know who this person is. Interesting that they came up with the rose quartz heart. I think there could be hidden depths to this person, and you might sort of see them. You know, I think you're very drawn to them as well too. So that's, I just like that energy. It's really nice. Whereas I'm a bit worried about the energy over here. That energy is nice too, but like this is really, really nice. So let's have a look at how they feel. Each feels about you. Okay, so this person really, oh yeah, they're a bit obsessed with you actually, but, and it could be like a crush, but it's like, if it is, it's like they've got you in some sort of Dracula-esque, Twilight-esque type of narrative that they have, and they feel you deeply too, but I just feel like you're more aware of the truth of them than the other way around. I think they live into a lot of myths. But I mean, they do care about you, but it's like it's a sublimated caring about themselves, I think. How does the famous but grounded friend feel about you? Optimistic. Okay, so I think if they're looking at your life, they're seeing really great things coming in and really great relationships. It's possible they know this person and they can see that, if that is right, if I'm right, that this could be a long-term relationship for you potentially. But they're also optimistic. I think you make them feel optimistic as well too, that visionary thing. I really do think you guide them in some way. And how does the hot nerd think about you or feel about you? Okay, they feel a bit overloaded. I do think they probably do have a bit of a crush. But it might take a while for you to know it. They're not going to be the one who tends to come out and say it. They've got a lot on their plate too, I think. But interestingly enough, I think that if they can get into this spontaneous side of things, then that could break it out. But if you are interested in this person, I think that you've got to find a way to connect with them that's fun, because I think it's more that they're overloaded in general. But if you don't come in that sort of fun, nurturing, let's get out and enjoy nature type of feeling around it, like get away from the keyboard, my friend, let's go and have fun, that will help them, I think. Okay, so I'm going to close out with a couple of, I'm going to do one more sort of feeling type card, and then I'm going to close out with some affirmations and energy for each of the friends. So firstly, another sort of relationship type energy around. Firstly, the Jade Vampire. Adventure, if you can't read that. So yeah, they do want to go on an adventure with you. They do. I think the thing is, whether or not it's a realistic one. Like what's the narrative arc they've got underneath this. Then the famous friend, or the glamorous friend who sees you as a visionary and such an inspiration. Got love from beyond. Oh, I'm getting a couple of things there. I think literally if some of you do this sort of work, do this sort of divination, then it may be that you connect them also with their guides or with someone from the past in their life who's passed on or something. Yeah, or it might be, I'm getting that you may share a spirit guide, actually. Might be one of the reasons why you're so connected and you can really read it for them and see for them. But it's definitely, again, picking up that otherworldly sense of you. And down here with the spontaneous, nurturing hot nerd. Assertive. Yeah, so you are going to have to be the one who's assertive, you know, to really, I think you are going, if you are interested in this person as more than a friend, you're going to have to be the one who takes the lead on it, because they're not going to do it. They're not that sort of person. But I do think you can do it in a very light-hearted sort of way, and that opens up that energy. And if you do just see them as a friend, then you're going to need to clarify that around it as well too, you know, to be the person who takes the lead on whatever the relationship is. Okay, let's get an affirmation for each of these friendships for you. Okay, trust your heart, use your head, yeah. That's definitely the feeling here. Like, if you feel connected to this person and you really like them, then you should, and that's fine. But how you define that relationship and what the energy exchange is, you need to use your head. Over here, if you really want to succeed, start before you're ready. That might be advice you give to this person. It might be advice they give to you as well. I just think there's a very reciprocal energy there, which is nice, and it is about success for both of you, I think. This says your prayers are not unanswered, they arrive in God's speed. So, yeah, I do think there's a mutual attraction here. If there's not, then maybe this person is an indication of what you're looking for. And you feel like, oh, it's not quite this person, where are they? In which case, the right person is coming for you. So I'm going to finish off with some energetic energy around each of them, and then lastly around your friends in general. So firstly, around the vampire. Then around the famous person, and then around, extremes. All right, so firstly, you do know. You'll know who this person is. If you haven't met them yet, you're going to meet them, you're going to know pretty much instantly. You'll understand. You'll get the sense of this sort of, they're highly dramatic, highly romantic in their own way, but in this kind of dark romance, gothic romance, there's something gothic about it. You will have the realization, and you will be able to use your head in what you do. That's the energy you need around that. You need to be clear about what's really going on. Self-love over here, that might be saying that you need, if this person is very glamorous and feels very exciting, you need to understand and love in yourself what you bring to them, because they really value you. They really, really do. And you have your own glamour and your own sort of career success and all those sort of things. So don't be in awe of them if they start to become very successful, or if you meet them because they're very successful. And this one, there's passion. There's definitely passion here. I don't think you can avoid that. You just need to work out whether this is passion that is an indication of something else coming through soon, or whether really it is that you know, you both need to kind of do something fun together to be able to bring that into being. So last but not least, a final energy around your friendship circle in general, pile 2. Oh, and how lovely is that? Trust. Which goes back to the feeling right at the beginning. Like, there is an enormous amount of trust, and there's an enormous amount of goodwill. There's some interesting dynamics in that person, but it's not coming from a place of not trusting or looking up to you. It's got to do with their own stuff. I think people do put a lot of trust in you. You'll hear a lot of secrets that other people wouldn't hear, and trust your instincts on what to do with this. But you are a very trustworthy friend, and you have a very trustworthy circle around you. It's not, I don't think the saboteur is somebody, I don't think they're trying to hurt you. I think it very much is doubling down on you're not around people that are untrustworthy on that level. But this is a bit of a complicated friendship. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you recognise the people, or at least a couple of them, and I hope that it was enjoyable for you as a reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe, and if you have any comments, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So we'll get to the 3 people that we're going to look at and the cards that are under the Chakra Placement Stone soon. But firstly, this first row of tarot cards is to give me an overarching sense of how your friends view you, and then we'll do a second row to just look at the nuances and differences within your different sort of social circles or friendships. So the first thing I get from this is that they see you, I'm not talking about gender here, I'm talking about the divine feminine and masculine in the way that we think about it spiritually, as being very much oriented towards the divine feminine. both on a material level with the Queen of Pentacles and also with the Empress there. Because we have the King of Pentacles. It's interesting we have the King and the Queen there together in the same suit, but the King is reversed, which makes me feel like they think that there's a side of you that has repressed that sort of more divine masculine side of things, the ambition, the sort of the wanting to rule and so forth. There is a natural sovereignty within you with the Queen of Pentacles and the Empress. They see you as someone who is very much your own person, whatever gender you are, but very much leaning towards the artistic and so forth, and the feminine side of it, because this kind of has a masculine energy as well too, so a little bit equivocal about that. But nevertheless, it's, if you, to the degree that you do it, you use your divine masculine side more in creativity and the arts in some way, or in the way that you express yourself, not so much in the material world. It looks like you're a natural leader, but you don't want to, or your friends don't think you're someone who want to, you know, run a company or be a CEO or be the boss in any sort of way. And they do see you as loyal emotionally, but they see you as someone who will walk away from prospects that aren't working. I think probably most of them have seen that primarily in your career or in material things. So I think that for some of you, there may have been some conflict in your family between your parents, and you've moved away almost from if that's the case, the father's side of it, I would say, or certainly the more conventional side. If you had your parents, one was more conventional than the other, you've moved towards the less conventional side of it, if that resonates for you. But they definitely see you as someone who's creative. They see you as someone who's nurturing, someone who has a great capacity for abundance, and someone who will take risks. Like, you are unafraid. They see you as someone who you could have built an empire and you'd walk away from it tomorrow if there was a better prospect. I don't feel that they think that about your friendships or anything. I don't think that they feel that you're disloyal. In fact, with the Queen of Pentacles there, that is the archetypal card for the loyal person. So I don't think your friends fear that you would walk away from the friendships lightly, but they don't see you as someone who is afraid at all to just burn it all out before you and move into the new. So I think they very much admire that, and the fact that you can make choices quickly when you need to, but stay on course for some longer term thing. Certainly if you wanted to be a parent, they'd see you as a brilliant parent. Brilliant. So, you know, and whether that's a parent of a child or whether it's of a creative project, absolutely brilliant. And again, happy to take that leap of faith into the new. So let's see whether there's any nuance or difference across your social circle around this. Okay. So this is interesting. The High Priestess, I think, has come up in every reading. So there might be, if you're jumping between readings, it really doubles down on how much your psychic or intuitive sense people see, your friends see, and admire, and see as a part of your nurturing and abundance in this case when it's connecting to the Empress. This may be saying that they see that you've actually left behind a relationship that wasn't working. I mean, even though I say you would be very loyal to friends, if a relationship, you know, a love relationship was not working, you would be able to move away from it. And this may be showing that there was one that you've been in which has not been, it was not a good relationship. It was not an honest relationship in some way. And you heard something, you found out something, you knew about it, and you were prepared to move on, even if that meant you needed to be alone because you're happy to be alone. But they do think, if that's the case, if that resonates for you, that you'll be a bit gun shy about relationships going forward, which is reasonable. I feel like if that resonates, it's relatively recent. If it's not, there's at least one friend around you who is either very competitive with you about relationships and maybe wants to be the queen, the empress, feels like you're not letting that happen, like there's almost a frenemy energy or something like that, or there's someone who would like to bring you into a relationship, but I don't think if that's the case. I think you already know, you have an instinct that that's not the right thing to do. You're better off being on your own than going into that. So we'll see what energies come up around the three people, because I suspect this person, whoever that is going to come up as one of them. So let's move to that. So I'm going to use a jade crystal for the first person, a jasper for the second, and a rose quartz for the third. I'm doing that because somebody suggested to me it was a great idea to actually use numbers, but I didn't remember that when I was preparing, so I don't have the numbers to lay out. So that hopefully will make it clear when I'm talking about the people so they don't get confusing. So I'm just going to lay out a number of cards with attributes of these people, and then we'll have a look at what that says for each. Okay, interesting. Actually, I'll put those like that so we separate them out a little bit better. So, first person up here could well be have Leo strongly in their chart, so Sun, Moon, Ascendant, that sort of thing, or a lot of planets in Leo if you know their chart. If not, it's a Leonian energy around them. It's fierce, unapologetic, opinionated, strong. It's also very generous, very warm, very regal in a way. So this person would be picking up that sense of you being a king or queen, and they have a similar sort of regal energy. They're going through something, they're bringing something back. It may be something in the friendship. Maybe it's a friendship that had fallen away and is coming back. If so, it may be because you used to be in some sort of a relationship and you're moving now into a friendship. So there's a revival, or it could have been a relationship that moved to a friendship that's now going to move back to a relationship. There's something in there. It's like either you have been in a relationship with this person, or they've had a secret love and you've been aware of it and you've been a friend, and maybe that's reviving. But there's something there. It's either you've been involved with them, or you know of a relationship that they've been involved with, where maybe to everybody else they were just a friend to that person. So it looks like you keep secrets for this person, or you were a secret in this person's life in some way. They may be in their 40s. If you're too young for that, then what that's really telling me, the 40s is a decade where people really start to establish who they are in the world and make really firm decisions around that. They've kind of achieved certain things. So if they're not as old as the 40s, then partly because they're naturally a problem solver, they're probably a little bit more mature in their approach to things. They maybe probably already solved a problem around this, or possibly their secret love was somebody in the 40s. So that could be a connection as well too. But something's reviving in their life. It may well be what this relationship is, and you may be the friend that helps with that. But certainly they're a mature person, and they're a problem solver, and I think very loyal. I don't get a bad energy around this. It's just a little bit complicated if you were the secret love. If that's the case, I think you've known it. It's not over here we've got maybe a secret admirer, but over here I think we've more got someone who had been your love, if that was the case, but it was secret, or you kept the secret for them on some level. So there's someone in that space. It's a bit complicated. We'll see what other cards come up to see whether that clarifies it a bit more. Over here we have someone who's a bit of a combination of Pisces and also Taurus, if I just bring that out to start with. So Pisces, very emotional, romantic, vulnerable, artistic, escapist, probably very psychically attuned to you, but also quite grounded. They like good food, they like good wine, they like good company. They can be a bit stubborn sometimes, and they may be very, very sort of beautiful movement dancer. They may literally be a dancer, or they may be someone you like to go out dancing with, or they may be someone who is just very elegant in the way they move. And I think they maybe have a bit of a crush. They've got a bit of an admiration thing going on for you. Whether or not that becomes anything, or whether it's just, they really do see you as being everything in the cherry on top, so to speak, I don't know. But they certainly are an admirer of you. They're down to earth again with this Taurus thing, and they may work in the healing sort of area. So I think that you have a friend who's very earthy, very healing, very nourishing, caring energy around you. Would be, as I say, a lot of fun to go out with, but probably, hold a bit of a torch for you. I'm not getting the sense that it would be a deal breaker for the friendship if you didn't reciprocate, but we'll see what else comes up. But it's a good energy. I don't feel like it was the tricky energy. I think this is the tricky energy, to be frank. So the rose quartz person here. So we've got white, elegant, clear, clean, purity, innocence. They appear to be they appear to be something in a way that they're not, because we've got the Sage and the Shadow King. They're wise. They really do know how to present themselves, and they are well established in something. Very clever, very clever. But it's the Shadow King. There's sort of something behind this wisdom. They would present themselves as being very wise, and they see you as wise. So they present themselves as being your natural partner, I think. But there's other stuff going on here. We've got Anubis, which is the Egyptian god of the dead. Now, that doesn't mean anything that drastic, but it does mean that there is shadow stuff around this person. They're mysterious. There's a fair complexion here, which might give a little bit of other bit of information, but I think you'll know who the person is. I think if you were, for instance, someone who worked in sort of spiritual areas, they'd be someone who claimed to be the same and claimed to be at your level, but I don't think they're at your level. There's something a lot darker. There's darker energy around them, and I think you will know about that. But if they may well try and become a partner in all areas of your life, or in the romantic area alone. It could be either, but I think you will know to be careful of this person. So let's see what each of these people, how they see you. So we'll start with the Archetype Oracle to see for each of them how they view you. So for the Secret Love over here, they see you as famous. That's interesting. So maybe you are or will be famous in some way, or they see you as someone who it's really arresting in terms of attention. People really pay attention to. When you move into a room, you're really seen. That's interesting. If you were the Secret Love and they're wanting to revive it, they may be worried about how much it's going to be seen. They may, in fact, have chosen, if you were the Secret Love, to make you just a friend in the end, because you attract too much attention, and they were worried about what could happen with that. And if they have to do something, they can be fierce and unapologetic and opinionated about it. But if you weren't the Secret Love, then I think they see you as someone who will be seen in some way, and maybe they want to help you with that, with the problem solver. And maybe they've seen you almost become famous and they want to help you revive that in some way. Okay, let's have a look at how the potential admirer, who I think probably will remain a friend, but is an admirer nevertheless, how they see you. Okay, they see you as like them, Pisces, is picking up the sort of High Priestess energy. They see you as being their sort of other half, I think, or at least very, very like them, and that's what they admire in you. They see you as being very emotionally caring, very deep. There's a lot of love in this, and I don't think it's very gentle. I don't think it's going to sort of fall apart, as I say, if it doesn't become romantic, but you are an ideal to them. And then let's look at the person of mystery down here. How do they view you? Introvert. Okay. So I think they can bring you out of yourself. I think they can see you as a power couple with them. I think that your natural reservation around this friend, they take as just introversion, because they're so sure they know. And they are so sure that they can get to the depths. But yeah, I think they think that they could manipulate you. I think more for them for thinking it, but I do think that they have some sense here that they could come in and control you a bit. And, it's interesting because this person over here sees everybody's looking at you. This person over here sees you as being withdrawn. It might, in fact, be that you're withdrawn a bit because everybody looks at you all the time. They're not understanding it. They're not anywhere near as clever as they think they are. They project a lot of their own shadow on you. And I don't think that they see you badly, but I just think they underestimate you. So let's have a look at the feelings that each of these have about you. So firstly, person number one, the green jade person. Optimistic. Okay, so if this is a past love, they really think that potentially you could be together again, and maybe not a secret, and maybe it can be out in the world, and that's great. You've got a lot of people around you interested in you as more than a friend, I've got to say. So that's a possibility. But if it's not, if you weren't together before, then I think they're optimistic about the friendship with you and about how that is going to be a good thing for both of you, which I think is true. I think that energy looks fine. Then we'll have a look at how this very nice, lovely, soft energy is feeling about you at the moment. You're feeling a bit perplexed. Yeah, look, I definitely think they have a bit of a crush. They definitely would like, and you can decide that you want to be with this, but there actually wouldn't be anything wrong with that at all. I just get the sense that you don't necessarily feel the same way, but possibly you could. But at the moment they're a bit perplexed. They're trying to sort out, but they're not the sort of person who's going to leave a friendship if it doesn't work out. And then the dark shadow at the bottom, what do they feel about you? Overloaded. Okay. So you're putting up a bit of a fight, I think. This would be very much a kind of mental mind games type of friendship. That's probably how it first sort of comes up, and they see you as a bit of a project, but they are underestimating you, and the more that they try and push, the more overloaded they're going to feel around it. Okay, let's use the heart code oracles for some more relationship energy for each. Okay, this one has criticism, so it does make me think that it's less likely, I mean, you're going to know, it's less likely that you were the secret lover. It's more likely maybe you're the friend who knew about it. And I think maybe they felt that you didn't really approve, but there's something reviving in your friendship and so forth that's making them feel more optimistic, and like things can be more open if that's the case. If not, and you were the person before, then maybe they want to revive it and they're not really sure that you want to. And it might be that you felt hidden away to some degree, and they know it needs to sort of come out, and they're potentially happy to talk about that, but they are a little bit afraid of criticism from you, I think. This person over here, commitment. Yeah. Yeah, this person does really care about you. I mean, it's doubling down all over the place here. So, but they are committed as a friend as well too. So I do think that whatever happens, they know that you're committed as a friend. They'll be committed to you, whatever happens. But I really think they would like the whole 9 yards with you, really. And they may be feeling a bit like that King of Pentacles reversed right at the beginning. Like, are you going to commit to them? Are you the one? Like, I just get the sense that maybe for you it's not the person, but you know, that's up to you. And then the person, the tricky mind games person, attraction. So yeah, they're definitely attracted to you. Like all of them are. As I say, this is definitely the reading the pile for the person who has quite a few admirers around of various forms. This one could be, in fact, just admiring you as a friend who helped them with a relationship, but it could also be that you were a relationship, you'll know. This one's definitely got a crush on you. This person's attracted, but it's attraction. It's like the attraction of the fascination. They're fascinated by you, but it doesn't feel, it just feels a little bit, be careful around it, I think, is what I'm feeling about it. So to finish off, I'm going to use an affirmation for each, and then we're going to use an energy deck for each of these relationships again. So firstly, an affirmation for each. Okay, all right. So firstly, growing means taking little steps. Action is power. If this was someone that you had a hidden relationship with before, then step by step it's going to sort of come out into the world, and you can determine whether or not it's as a friendship or something more. But if it's someone who really wants to draw out and revive something with you around a friendship before, it's a step by step. Maybe there was a bit of a falling out about this relationship on one level or another. This person will be helpful though with being a problem solver, and they have done some work on themselves if you're sort of concerned about that. But just making some decisions about it and just stepping step by step is good. You get to write your story any way you want. So again, you can have a friendship, you can have more than a friendship. It's going to be what you want, really. This person's quite besotted, I think, and could be a really good prospect, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be a wonderful friend as well. And then down here, you are infinite, you will always be loved. This person might try to convince you that you two are twin flames, you two are destined to be together, you won't ever be able to be with anyone the way that you would be with them. They're that kind of person. And this is saying, do not fall into that. Do not listen to it. You are infinite. You will always be loved. It's not this person or nobody. And in fact, this person is probably not anywhere near your level in actual fact, but I think they're trying to manipulate you. So let's finish off with some energy cards for each of the people here, and then a more general one to close out for your friendships overall. Okay, so firstly we have will around here. So you will determine this, I think. Your will, what you want to bring into the world and so forth, will determine what happens, and you are the one who will take the actions that really determine what this is. It's possible that with that willpower that you have, that strength that you have, that's what's making them feel maybe like they're under a bit of critique. So just bear that in mind if that's not what you mean. And then we have power over here. You have the power, you have the control. It's interesting that you get willpower, and then we have release, because I think that kind of connects down to this. Overall, it's saying that you have the willpower and you can release what won't work for you, which was that sense right at the beginning. Remember I said that your friends see you as someone who, if there is something that's not working, will move away from it. If there's something new you want to go into, you go into it. That's willpower release in a way. So it's interesting that it's coming up for the 3 relationships. Definitely suggesting release any of the stuff around this. You could literally move away from this friendship, but if not, you need to release all the mind games and so forth. So what's the overarching closing message, Spirit, for pile 3 around their friendships and how their friends view them at the moment? Action. Yeah, because over and over, this is you are the person who's going to determine this. You are the person who will take the actions and make the decisions. The ball is in your court, and your friends really do look up to you. Even this one down here who wants to manipulate you, they want to do it because they look up to you. They have an overinflated sense of themselves, when in actual fact you're further along the way than them. But action, making decisions, doing things, using your willpower, releasing what isn't necessary. What people see in you is true of you. You are absolutely a person who will take control of your life, who will make your decisions, who will take risks, and who will leave things behind because you know that you can write your story any way that you want. So I hope that resonates for you, pile 3, and I hope that it was a fun reading and that you enjoyed it. If so, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you have any comments or thoughts on it, please by all means share them in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.